Hi, everybody. I'm Jackson Payne.
I'm Johnny Kolasinski. You might remember me from such podcast as Oh My Gosh, I Feel Old Now, which is basically every podcast ever because it's all about nostalgia.
No.
This is Hi Everybody, a Bad Medicine podcast. Every week we talk about what Hollywood gets right and wrong about medicine and how the body works. Jackson, what are we going to be discussing this week?
Home Alone, the 1990 classic that is about family values and then trying to kill thieves.
Yeah, and I like that we can say classic and it's actually a classic now. We do have, once again, two wonderful guests with us this week. Dr. Greg Winter.
Hi, everybody.
And Dr. Courtney Nicholas.
Hi, everybody.
I like that everyone knows what to say now.
I mean, after you've done this many podcasts,
yeah,
you should
You've
know
trained
that.
us well.
So yeah, we're talking about Home Alone because we thought this is going to be a movie where there's so many injuries and so much to discuss. Mm-hmm. Greg, how far do you have to go into the movie before you see actual injuries happen?
It's interesting because I think you have to have about 120 minutes to make a feature-length film. Before anything happens in this movie, it's 117 minutes.
It's an hour 17.
It is almost an entire movie before the part that you remember being good about this movie.
Yeah.
I will add this, though. There was one part that we remembered being quote-unquote good, and it's when he put on an aftershave.
Yeah,
and that was before all the good stuff
It's not that it was good. That was in the preview. It's like, look how cute this kid is. Oh, that's hilarious. The thing we can all relate to. And now that we're adults, no, that's just putting aftershave on your face doesn't matter. You would have had to nick your face a little bit to feel the burn from aftershave. Yeah. Otherwise, you're just like splashing alcohol on your face.
Yeah.
So forget medicine. This is going to be a prepubescent aftershave podcast.
We are
just
not
like my other podcast.
But I think the setup is very important up until 1 hour and 17 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah. Really quick, you can find this podcast on HiEverybodyMD.com or on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at HiEverybodyMD.
Yes.
And Jackson.
You can also call us on our hotline at 530-DOCTORB.
The B stands for Uncle Buck.
Who answers the hotline?
That's nice.
I answer the hotline.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It either goes to the voicemail or for some reason it'll go to my Google Home.
If we called it right now, what would happen?
I get mad because we're recording the podcast.
Fair.
But yes, if you want to call it and annoy all of us, maybe you might catch us during a podcast taping. Go for it.
Oh, I'm going to call you.
Yeah.
I think as slow to start as this movie is, it is a testament to what it is to make a film. Like, you care about this character by the time he is murdering these thieves.
Yeah.
Like, you really are invested in it because up until that point, nothing happens. Like, it is pure emotional buildup of, like, this kid is lonely. Like, this
kid is lonely,
yeah,
but he's also, like, self-sufficient.
Yeah.
I mean, but it is a study in, like, family leaves kid. Kid figures out that he doesn't need family until he realizes he does need family, but also he wants to protect family and needs them home.
Yeah.
I was left at a gas station once as a child. This movie speaks to me on a weird level. Also, I didn't murder anyone.
Can I just say also, this is also a testament in how well you diverted us right back to the conversation.
I'm good at focusing.
Yeah.
But which is the thing no one has ever said.
But you nailed it.
Never.
The setup is very important.
Yeah.
Like, we care about this child at 1 hour and 17 minutes when the action starts.
And also, otherwise it doesn't matter. And as we were kind of sitting down to record this, we saw there was a Home Alone 3, which none of us have ever seen, and there's no way that you care about that kid by 117 minutes.
His mom was not driven by polka singers to his house.
I mean,
now that's a spoiler alert.
Yeah. If you haven't watched it by now.
Yeah, his mom's actually driven by Skrillex.
John Skrillex Candy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Skrillex. Don't you know the hot song?
But yeah, so,
dubstep.
But
Kiss me, dubstep.
Okay, I've lost all of you.
But I think it is interesting that Kevin didn't really realize that he wanted to save his house, protect his family, really until he talked to Greg's dad.
Well, I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
The joke here being,
as I was growing up, people that knew me and had seen this movie, which is everyone who was my age, The joke was that Kevin's neighbor, the older gentleman, looks like my dad, and he does look a lot like my dad. And also, my dad is a wisdom dispenser. At no point is this man actually scary. He's just a stranger, and then once they have a sit-down conversation, like, wisdom dispensed, and saves the day at the end of it, but also looks a lot like my dad.
Yeah.
Purported serial killer in the beginning.
No,
right?
But that's what every stranger from our era of growing up, Stranger Danger, Milk Carton Kids, that's the era that we grew up in.
To Kill a Mockingbird.
So we're a true crime podcast now.
Yeah.
There's so many things we're not.
Yeah.
But that guy is my dad in a weird way.
Yeah.
That guy being John Hurd.
Shout out to Dr. Winter.
Yeah.
The real Dr. Winter.
And not the doctor.
And not the doctor. I don't feel like we need to give a synopsis of Home Alone.
No.
I would hope not.
I would hope not, but I will say this is to kind of set everything up. The robbers saw, I think, Kevin and said, the robbers were plotting in the backyard saying that they will be back at 9. And that's when everything kind of was set up.
And thank goodness these thieves are punctual.
And didn't Kevin set an alarm?
There's a grandfather clock.
No, the grandfather
clock went off.
It interrupted his macaroni and cheese dinner.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like, hey, this
what
is coming
8-year-old eats dinner at 9?
One who is
Kevin
waiting
McAllister.
for the robbers to come.
Can I also ask what kind of child eats dinner, especially macaroni and cheese, with silverware that is
by candlelight?
If my parents would gone, 100%.
Would you sleep in their bed too?
I don't know about that.
I gotta be honest, I was a latchkey kid. I used the good silverware.
Did you like candles?
I did not like candles. There were some things that were specifically forbidden, which was lighting candles. But I will say that our house was mainly heated with the stove, which I did have to light with an open flame. So, yes. I basically used candles to light the house.
Fair enough.
Let's be honest. Open flame was more accessible in the 90s than it is right now.
That's because everybody uses Juuls now.
It's hard to light an open flame with a banana-flavored Juul.
Yeah. Just doesn't work the same. But we could start with just how at 9 o'clock, how the robbers try to enter the house. And that's, they arrive to the back door with the doggy door.
I know that we mentioned this already, but this is 115 minutes into the movie. Before the things
an hour and 15, not 115. 75.
Thank you.
Just let him go.
Okay.
You are correct. It is an hour and 15 minutes into the
I should have just let somebody call 1530.org.
Yeah. Do you guys not know time?
Time is difficult.
Yeah, time is difficult.
It's like, I have watched this movie many times, and in my head, it's like, oh, parents leave. Kevin beats down thieves. Also, Kevin is happy at the end. But nothing happens for an hour and 15 minutes.
They're setting up the emotional attachment to Kevin.
And it's very important. It's just a weird thing to see when you're waiting for it to happen, because that's a long time to wait for something to happen.
It's maybe not an hour and 17 minutes appropriate.
He has 2 times when he goes into a store where they're like, this is weird that you're at the store by yourself. Like, who gives... Like, none of this matters.
For those not able to see, Greg put his hands on his hips to say
how upset he is.
Hey, kiddo, this doesn't seem right.
Tilted his head to the side.
Yeah. So, even if parents are in another country, they can call their town's police department and be like, hey, we left our kid at home.
They did try.
And then you try again. It's not like... This is many days where this kid is alone, and it's kind of weird to look at it and just be like, this just isn't right. I mean, it's a great movie.
It is.
Please enjoy it. It's just weird.
It is.
It was in 1990.
It was 1990.
iPhones.
Yeah.
Times were a little different 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm. What was different, Jackson?
I don't know. We don't have cell phones anymore.
There were no Ring doorbells.
Yeah. Basically, this would just... I guess we had the Google Home advertisement that Macaulay Culkin did last year.
Yeah.
I clearly missed this, and I can't believe I didn't get to watch it.
Hey, Google, we're looking for sponsors. Please don't go off.
Was there a time when, during this advertisement, he hit his face? Like he had...
Absolutely.
With aftershave?
Yeah, with aftershave too.
But this is not a good advertisements podcast.
We should watch this afterward, but
we should also discuss some of the injuries that happen.
Going back to all of this, as Greg is so focused.
Is that why we're here?
Yeah, I guess so. But they all come to the
530-Doctor with all your angry calls.
Guys, here's the thing. I can kind of talk about anything for any amount of time. So if you need to direct me one way or the other, just please do. One of you guys just look at me and direct me one way or the other.
Let's rein him in here.
So let's bring you back to how they first started breaking in, which was to the back door.
At 1 hour
the old
and
back
17 minutes in.
Because everything good starts in the back door, according to this film.
That's where I learned it.
Yep. So, I guess Kevin hears them in the back door, hears Joe Pesci, and then slides his BB gun.
Just after the grandfather clock rings, 9 p.m.
Yeah, because these are so
I'm eating
punctual.
macaroni and cheese. I better stop. Someone's going to rob my house.
Yeah. So they slides the BB gun through the doggy door and then shoots him right in the ding-ding.
So this is where my physics comes in, because I will be honest, I did not play with BB guns as a child.
Oh, we did.
I know you did, and so I'm going to ask you.
I didn't, because I could have shot my eye out.
What's the game where you hit the thing and it goes, eh? Because I want to buzz Courtney, because it's not it's not a physics podcast, Courtney.
Well, it's not a physics podcast, but just, okay, so these guys are dressed for winter in Chicago. They have, like, several layers of wool and everything, and the BB gun goes straight to the crotch. I would feel like BB guns are not penetrating, correct? I feel like it would go in and it would like diffuse and.
Now there's pellet guns and there's BB guns.
So here is my question to all the males in the room: how much would a BB gun hurt at the crotch at point blank range?
A, depends how many pumps.
That is true.
That is the biggest question.
I'm gonna be honest. Kevin chose a 1-pump BB gun. Usually, that's kind of.
Or it could be a pellet gun.
We're talking about a toy, not a big deal. The real thing is how many layers of. BBs in general are not meant to penetrate anything, and so then you're doing about layers of protection.
I will say this, Greg. My friend would beg to differ. Because there were too many pumps. Shot it off of the backboard on a basketball court. Went right back, got stuck in his forehead.
That is a thing that can happen.
Yep.
That is a thing that can happen. To answer Courtney's question, yes, a BB gun is not like a bullet. It is.
It's a ball bullet.
It is.
It's a projectile.
I'll step back. A BB gun is like a bullet, except for it has way less power behind it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. What we see Kevin doing is not going to do much of anything, especially if someone is wearing winter clothing, which we assume they're wearing.
Mm-hmm.
It would just be a "Hey, what the heck, kid" moment, and then you.
But it could knock you off your feet, correct? And they were on a set of stairs.
No. It would not. No. It would only knock you off your feet in the sense that, oh, mother beep, that hurts so much. I gotta get off my feet. That's right.
Or more like shock. Like, I can't believe that kid shot me in the dick.
Right. I mean, that's.
It would throw you off balance as opposed to knock you off.
That is what it did. Well, it threw him off balance.
Yeah,
I think that.
But it also knocked him backwards off his feet.
You're absolutely right, because when the initial shot was to the guy's forehead.
No, the initial shot was
to Joe Pesci.
Yeah, Joe Pesci.
The second shot was to Daniel Stern.
I disagree.
You are wrong.
You're wrong.
Shall
the movie
we roll
was.
the clip?
I would love to roll a clip here. I am fairly certain that it is Daniel Stern that pokes his head through and gets shot, and then he shoots Joe Pesci.
The two gentlemen, robbers,
I'm gonna be honest.
are trying to get into the room.
I don't care.
And then I think the gun comes.
Oh no! I want you to check. In the meantime, let me tell you a story about when I was younger.
Yeah, I say you should tell that story.
Oh Lord!
As we're sort of looking for this clip, I said I wasn't going to talk about this. We talked about it earlier.
Okay, gun comes out. We're watching the clip. I'm sorry. Gun comes out, aiming towards Pesci. Crotch range.
Oh god damn it!
Oh, there it goes. Oh, it hurts. It hurts. I'm jumping.
Yeah, it hurts.
I'm
You
jumping
know what?
away.
Then I am not telling the story about my friend KW.
Wait. So we're checking on Pesci. Pesci is very disappointed. He's looking back.
No, you're right.
And then we get the face into the doggy door, because if a projectile came out of the doggy door to shoot your partner in the crotch, of course, the first thing that you would do is stick your face through it.
Yeah. And I will say this. That should penetrate through skin. If you're that close.
I don't
So
think
at this point, he is 6 inches away from the BB gun.
I will say it would leave an immediate welt.
Yeah.
So BB guns and pellet guns are very different, whereas BB guns have a very specific, like, ball-bearing projectile. Pellet guns have a pointed projectile. Mm-hmm. If it was a pellet gun, it would totally pierce the skin. BB guns are just like, a little bit of force thrown at you, that shit hurts.
Now, would you be able to hit someone from a treehouse?
It's a very specific example you've chosen.
It is.
Yeah. I wonder why that is. When I was younger, my friend Kent and I would hunt each other from a treehouse using only a specific amount of force. It was hunting. It was certainly hunting. Because there was a time frame involved and you would run in a zigzag. I'm just saying, it was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Kids today are missing out on some fun.
Yeah, I mean,
there was also surviving.
Also, you know what you learn from that? You don't look behind you. You don't look back. You go forward. You move forward.
I learned that
it's an important thing.
I learned number of pumps equals pain.
It does.
Yep.
Oh,
the maximum amount of pumps on that gun was 10 pumps. 10 pumps was too much. But 4 pumps was enough to know you got hit, and you could also, you could embellish that a little bit. You'd get hit in the back, and you could dive, or you could be like, I don't care, that didn't even hit me. I mean, it was, we figured it out through trial and error.
Yeah.
5 pumps, too many. 3 pumps, not enough.
And I'm sorry, regardless of pumps,
Irregardless isn't a word.
I said regardless.
I misheard you.
Of pumps. The scene where he sticks his head through the doggy door, and it's point blank range, 6 inches, with a BB gun to the forehead, I feel like that is going to affect anyone.
Oh, it's going to hurt.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying it's not going to hurt. I just don't, like...
I don't know if it's going to be concussion hurt, but he should be walking around with at least a big old bump on his
pull his head out of the doggy door.
Oh,
yeah.
which it does.
Yeah,
and I'm just saying, I don't think it would have broken his... Knowing what a 1-pump BB gun does, I think he had the appropriate reaction, which is like, oh... That hurt.
That hurt. I'm going to pull my head out of the stupid doggy door and move away from the situation.
But also speaking of hurt, the next trap was every single stair was slippery.
Which is basically
Chicago.
Which is all
of the Midwest from November to February.
But yeah,
except for this week in Ohio when it's 55.
Yeah.
Well, and they
also,
use
this week in Chicago, it's been about 55.
Yeah.
Well, global warming is not a thing.
Whoa, that's not a politics.
Whoa there, climate denier, Courtney.
I've been talking about global warming for 20 years.
Oh, man.
So they use these slippery stairs, which absolutely, I've killed myself 27 times probably on.
Are we talking
I
to your
don't know
ghost?
if that's medically accurate.
It is.
Are we talking to your ghost right now?
Is that once a year since?
But as they step up, there's several, like you said, Jackson, there's several options of these slippery stairs, and it seems that I'm losing it.
So Marv's fall is a lot more believable than Harry's fall.
Oh no, I think both of their falls are very believable.
Yeah.
What I don't think believable is the amount of time from when Kevin washes the stairs down until they are frozen to the point of that amount of slippery.
I disagree with that. So what time did he wash the stairs?
That alarm goes off at 9 p.m. when he's like, I have to defend my house.
No, he's already set all the traps.
He's already set all the traps. He was eating macaroni and cheese at 9 p.m.
I feel like I had a weird time dilation thing that happened right around...
This is becoming a Mandela effect.
I think he watered the stairs at like 6 p.m.
Yeah,
and
Mandela.
I think 3
and that's
hours
enough
is very
time.
reasonable.
Especially
for
that's
9 p.m. I'm going to kill them.
What's not reasonable
robbers.
is Joe Pesci falling directly on his neck and not being...
Well, but it's all a matter of... So going up the stairs... And again, I'm sorry, Greg, this is not a physics podcast. But as you go up the stairs...
Who told you this wasn't a physics podcast? I bring up physics every time I'm here.
Then I stop you about it.
You step down and you move... As going up the stairs, you're going to move your foot backwards. And that's where kind of falling forward is an issue. When they... Listen to me, I'm such a baby doctor. I start talking about babies automatically. When we go backwards, you slide in the opposite direction. So, which one is the tall guy?
Marv is the tall guy.
Thank you. When the tall guy goes up...
Bumbling thieves.
Steps up, and he's trying to go up the stairs. He slides his foot back, and falling forward, I think, is very reasonable.
Mm-hmm. anyone that has lived in the Midwest and has done anything outside during a certain period of time when there's ice on the ground has had a ridiculous fall. It's like...
I think that's all of us in this room.
Yeah,
right?
but
actually,
it's like you can be like, oh, that never would happen. It's like, no, that could probably happen.
Oh, I almost killed myself.
But
We do become cartoons for about 4 months out of the year.
And the one that's more believable is the guy that's kind of falling down in an enclosed space just because...
Because we've all bounced off of walls.
Right, you can be like, oh crap, I almost grabbed that and I almost grabbed that, but also I still hit myself on the ground. The initial fall from Joe Pesci is a little bit cartoony.
Yes.
The
But
initial fall from...
subsequent one, yes.
Right, and so like the initial fall from Daniel Stern is like, oh, that's happened to me. And I'm upset thinking about how much it hurt when that happened to me.
And then Daniel Stern does this perfect moment where he's on a set of stairs, and I see he splits his legs out, and he like sets his feet up against the walls on either side of the stairwell, and that is 100% accurate.
That is something every one of us.
Let's talk about the injuries though that would happen on a fall like that.
That's kind of that's how I felt. Is the when Joe Pesci has his initial slip, it just feels like, oh, you fell and somebody cartooned your legs above your head. And if you felt like that, you would be laying on the ground for quite some time.
Yeah.
And I'm doing this for a movie,
right.
kind of.
Yeah.
When Daniel Stern falls down those steps, those concrete back steps, which are steps that I have swept for my neighbors many times. But like when Daniel Stern has that fall and like bounces down those steps, all I'm thinking about is how badly his hip and thigh would be bruised.
Oh yeah.
Like that's when you sit there for like 10 minutes afterwards and you finish the job they paid you $4 or $5 to do, which took you an hour or so.
Yeah.
I feel like we're seeing young Greg right now.
Yeah.
Yes, this is personal.
Regretful young Greg.
And you go inside and you're crying a little bit. They give you some hot cocoa and you sit there, and then you got to go to the next neighbor's house because you agreed to shovel their steps too. It's just that's a real fall that he had. It looks real bad. The fall that scares me is the next one by Joe Pesci,
when he literally lands on his neck.
When he flips back and lands on his neck, which is...
That's a paralyzer.
I don't want... Yeah, right. It's not a fatal fall.
But it's a paralyzer.
It's just you're not moving afterward.
No. It's I'm diving under the waves in the ocean and I never stand up.
No one ever sees me.
Like, that should have been like credits roll. Right there.
I had a patient that happened to. It was real sad.
But you see, at least with that last fall with Pesci, you see the foot as, physics work. And I'm sorry I keep going back to physics, but
Do I have to bring the beer over here that tells you what kind of podcast we are?
The foot slides out in front of him, and he falls backwards, and he lands on his neck.
That's
and at least
the
it
thing is,
makes sense as far as a movement.
Right, it's an appropriate fall, but it's so appropriate that the way that he lands with the back of his head on a piece of concrete stair, like, sorry, sir.
And then he just
now you eat through your straw for the rest of your life.
No, but he pops up like, okay, that was bad, but I'm good to go. Let's roll.
As we continue in Head Trauma, the movie, with an iron down 3 stories of a laundry chute onto Daniel Stern's head.
I will say Corridor Crew probably did it best because that iron should have went straight through his head.
Well, you're right. It should have gone straight. As far as the
physics.
I
was about to say that, but I stopped.
I disagree.
With
because
that mass, you think that...
Well, it landed flat. It landed not with
flat.
A pointy. It didn't land with an edge.
Things.
It landed with the flat edge. It would have
destroyed
his face.
Thank you. That's where we're going with this.
Jinx, Jackson, you owe me a Coke. It would have destroyed his face.
Yeah.
But
from that level,
he would not be dead. He would he would have 2 black eyes. His nose would be bleeding. But
it depends, though.
Your skull protects your brain, plus or minus. But my favorite part of this is the persistent impression of the iron.
Right. And so, part of that is the thought that, this was an iron that was plugged in and hot, and it fell on his face. And it was so hot that in the 1 millisecond that it touched his face, it left an impression of an iron.
Exactly, with the three
Here's the
little divots for the steam.
I'm going to also say, if he was not so quick to close his eyes when that iron fell down, he probably would have burned his eyes, too.
I mean...
Depending on, like,
but he would also
the
crack
eyes
his
are
orbital
inverted,
bone.
so.
He should have a bloody nose.
I think
Also-
Greg's right. The 3 stories of falling onto the face would have done a little more damage. From
Also,
the bony structure kind of
whose
situation.
house has a dumbwaiter in it that you have a 3-story?
It wasn't a
fall?
dumbwaiter, it was just a chute.
That I want to live in.
There's a laundry chute. Nobody has that.
I have a laundry chute on a 2-story
You have a
house.
laundry chute that just ends in nothing? It just ends in the ground.
It ends in the basement where the laundry is.
Can we
and you
just
put a
all
basket
agree
under
that
it.
the fact that this house has a laundry chute / dumbwaiter is the reason why the wet bandits are really casing this house?
Oh, absolutely.
That's
These
true.
people
They-
are real.
they
yeah.
have-
These people are rich.
They have a hard-on for this house. They are really
do.
trying to get
And
this
he
house.
said that several times in a row. Like, I want
this
this
is the
house.
crown jewel.
This is the crown jewel. This is where we want to go. And
Now, you brought up
Yeah,
a term
mine.
that I didn't know when we were watching the scene with the iron.
Hard on?
Wow. This is not a Birds and the Bees podcast.
oh, but that was funny.
You brought up a term that I didn't know, which was coup, counter coup.
Okay.
Contra coup.
Contra coup.
Contra- And we talked about this before. I think we started recording too.
Yeah.
So, coup is the direct blow that you get from being struck. Right.
Jackson, this is not a Birds and the Bees
Right,
podcast.
explain that a little bit better, Jackson, please.
Okay, so coup, contra coup.
So, coup, contra coup. So, coup is the direct hit onto your head, where contra coup is where your brain sloshes around in your skull, and then the opposite side hits the back of your skull.
I'm glad Jackson corrected himself because I was going to correct him. There is not directionality with coup counter coup. It's just initial hit versus bouncing hit.
Bouncing.
Well,
So it's
and I
not it's
really-
not front back. It's first
First
hit,
hit.
back
Second.
reaction.
I'm really happy you used the word slosh too.
Yeah, I mean, your brain is covered in fluid or surrounded by fluid, so it's going to slosh around.
Guys, or is that sloth?
That's
That's sloth.
Sorry.
Not slosh.
Ooh.
It's basically the bouncing of the brain back and forth when you hit something forward.
Yeah,
It's bounce
so
backwards.
that's how you get a concussion. It's really the contra coup that really does the big
I mean,
damage.
they both do damage. The problem is that people continue to do damage afterwards anyway.
Well, the problem is brains shouldn't bounce.
Yeah. I think we have the title of this episode.
Home Alone.
Brain shouldn't bounce. So we get a nice little break from head trauma following the iron scene, and we get some foot trauma instead with Marv walking up the stairs, Tar on the stairs, pulls off his shoes, pulls off his socks. He steps straight on a nail.
I will say it's very considerate that Kevin put all that tar on there so he couldn't get pseudomonas when he stepped through the shoe and the sock to get
Explain.
Oh my god,
So-
I did not even think about
So
that.
there's a concern that if you step on a nail through your shoe, you can introduce pseudomonas, which is a type of bacteria, into your skin.
Isn't it tetanus too?
And actually,
This is from the nail.
the nail
Right,
is the tetanus,
yeah.
but pseudomonas is actually from the soil and all
Okay,
that stuff.
this podcast should be actually.
Well,
A bunch of
well, actually, a bad medicine podcast. Are we gonna do it like Love Actually next year?
Do that.
But it's pseudomonas is the big concern whenever someone steps through a nail through a shoe, and that's what you're supposed to treat them with antibiotics for. So
And tetanus.
Luckily, Kevin did his research.
yeah, but the
No,
basically
he didn't step through the shoe. He
No.
just stepped on
yeah,
it.
He did his
tetanus.
research and-
So,
What's the shoe?
yeah, Kevin wants him to die from tetanus, not pseudomonas.
Oh,
I
tetany is a
don't know
horrible
think Kevin
way to
is
die.
thinking about this. I think that he just wants it to leave.
I'm just very shocked that how he stepped on the nail. He didn't step all the way through. It's just enough to hurt,
But-
and then
Would
lift it.
you
up.
step all the way
But
through,
that's the
though?
truth. I mean, that's the most honest thing in the movie is that if you have ever almost had that kind of foot trauma, you immediately stop having that foot trauma. Like your body will contort in whatever way possible to stop it from putting more
So-
weight on a pointy thing.
So
on
then
sole
the
of
trauma
your foot.
should be step drag.
No,
No.
it would be step lift up because it's one of those like when you touch a hot surface, your first reaction is to pull away as quickly as you can. When you step on
feels
something
like Courtney's
sharp,
right.
I feel like your first reaction is to rip that away as best you can, and the upward direction.
I think the fact that you
use the word rip,
that
backs me up.
Sort of, I don't know what to do anymore.
But I think we can all agree though, should have been bloodier.
Should have been bloodier, absolutely. And his foot should have been tarrier after that scene.
Oh, his foot should have been 100% tarrier. As someone who has stepped in some warm tar. I hate that. Hold on. I hate this.
I need to hear this.
50% of this podcast has stepped in warm tar.
It's just like, are you helping build houses in Mexico? Okay, well, you're doing this. Oh, you step in this thing. Oh, it soaks through your sock and shoe. Like, tar is the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, for a second I was going to say you were barefoot building a house.
No. It's just that sticky.
Yeah.
And I mean...
That's a lot of tar.
Nice. Well done. I'm not saying that I was like, full sock in tar. It's just like, definitely got my foot in a tarry situation, and... It is real sticky.
Well, and then it goes to their drive, too. Like, they show the scene where he steps on one stair and the shoe is left behind. He steps on the next stair, the shoe is left behind.
And also,
he steps on the next stair, the sock is left behind. The next one, the sock is left behind. And then we're done. And at that point, I might be like, I'm good.
And also, you feel that when you are socked to tar... It's also skin to tar.
You're also
everyone is a medical term.
You're quite concussed.
He was.
At this point in time, any decision that they've made can be excused with, I just took an iron to the forehead.
I mean, Daniel Stern also steps on more ornaments after he steps on that.
I mean, that's actually the thing. That is such a visceral thing. When you almost step on something, as we were watching the movie, Jackson brought up the, it's like stepping on Legos, which is like, if you've stepped on a Lego, your body collapses in a way to protect your foot. You would rather hit your head on the corner of a table than put all of your weight on a 2x6 Lego. Like, that is a real thing that happens.
What about
and the way he comes out of this...
one by one, you'll put your weight on.
The way he comes out of this window is he's like, I'm climbing through the window.
The way he comes out of the window.
And then I'm going to slam on these Legos.
He is coming out of this window like he is going to Mario vault on a trampoline and go up another 6 stories.
Use his feet and just step with all the force and might that he has and land on these
It's the
ornaments.
most aggressive step down I've ever seen someone going through. Like, pointy ornaments made of glass that are going to break immediately. Boom. All weight, 100%.
Can I also ask you guys about the hot doorknob?
No asking.
No asking?
Oh, you two totally... No, I'm actually a very big fan of the hot
doorknob. But my question
doorknob.
is, like, if you touch the hot doorknob, would you withdraw from the pain because it's so hot?
Yes.
Or would your skin stick to it because it's so hot?
No, I'm sorry. It's like a stove. You put your hand on a stove and your first reaction is to pull your hand away as fast as you can when anything is hot.
So my counter argument...
You grab
your
that...
Coup counter coup?
Your coup counter coup, yes. You grab that doorknob and I was going to say his defense, but I guess it would have to be Kevin's defense. The doorknob was freaking glowing because it was red hot. Yeah. So any idiot would grab it. But you grab that doorknob, and then the first thing you do is you pull your hand away, and he did not do that.
So my counter argument would be, I have patients that will come in and grab their mom's hot curling iron and actually hold on for a little longer than they should be. They just panic and just hold like that.
Well, when something is a super duper stimulus, sometimes your brain can't interpret it properly. Sometimes it needs an extra second. So when you're really grabbing something hot or really grabbing something cold, something so hot or cold that it can hurt you, your brain is just not ready for it. So then you don't respond the way that you think that you would.
And this is why people are stupid.
My real question is: have any of you ever fixed the doorknob?
Yes.
I know the answer is no.
Yes.
Because
my answer is no.
The transfer, the inside and outside of a doorknob are connected by
a metal rod.
By a small metal
Very
rod.
Very thin metal rod.
So to transfer energy from the inside or outside to the other side of that.
Did this become a physics podcast?
This isn't a physics podcast. This is just a common sense podcast. So if you're going to transfer energy from the inside to the outside using a small inanimate carbon rod, it has to heat up. And to do that, it means you are leaving that, I think that's a grill lighter.
It's a grill lighter, yeah.
So you're leaving that crazy grill lighter on the inside of your doorknob, and it has to in order to transfer energy to the outside, it has to heat up the inside doorknob, which is then going to heat up that inanimate carbon rod, which goes to the outside, which is then going to heat up the outside one.
And become red.
And why didn't the door catch fire?
By the time that happens,
the door is going to catch on fire.
On bleeping fire. The door is going to catch on bleeping fire.
Because metal is such a conductor that wood is not. I feel like if you hung that...
Are you going to tell... Hey, person that has a fire pit outside of their home, are you going to tell me wood is not a conductor of heat?
There's a Vsauce video.
Wood is a conductor of fire, but I feel like if you hang something hot onto metal, it's going to conduct through the metal as opposed to catching the wood on fire.
You're absolutely right. It is gonna conduct through the metal, but by the time that thing gets red hot to the point where someone can see it and grab it and burn their hand, that door is on fire.
To someone who has a fire pit and has a lot of difficulty lighting said fire.
You often call me to light your fire pit.
It's true. It doesn't light as well.
But I will say, this probably is the best transition we can use right now. Because it goes to Joe Pesci getting burnt by a blowtorch.
Burnt on the forehead by a blowtorch.
Okay, and he just stands there.
I don't like your ability to push these transitions when I'm in the middle of yelling.
We're here for focusing.
Moving to Joe Pesci.
I am hearing that Courtney needs a charcoal grill lighter like we see in this film.
Yeah, maybe that's what you need.
Or Courtney just likes fire. Let's be honest.
She's no ling.
No. But so the blowtorch, Kevin's booby trap of the blowtorch that, goes towards Joe Pesci's head, he just stands there.
He does.
And again, we talk about when a person touches a hot stove or a person is, exposed to some kind of hot interaction. Typically, the reaction is to pull back right away. And Pesci just stands there.
This is where my life experience comes into play.
Oh, no.
Because before this show, I was a fire-breathing acrobat at Renaissance festivals. And when your hair starts... You didn't know this?
Johnny, have I mentioned this time that I like you more and more every time I talk to you? I feel like it's been a while since I've said that.
So I want to see where we're going here.
And as someone who has been very, very, very close to flame, when you start smelling burning hair... Your reaction is to pull away from the fire.
Yes.
Yes, I am very bald. It's unrelated, except for this patch right here.
But he stays in that fire for quite a while and gets a very nice snowflake.
Yeah.
It's like a star. The whole hat, to skull ratio is like he's got this beautiful, star image.
So, there's this weird thing in medicine where people assume that you know what someone's reaction is going to be. And in general, when there's a painful stimulus, you are going to withdraw from it. That is what Johnny is talking about. But what I liked in this scene is that he had this ridiculous thing that happened to him.
I'm sorry, who?
Joe Pesci.
Joe Pesci. Okay, thank you.
Was on fire.
One of the two bumbling thieves, Joe Pesci, not Daniel Stern.
Okay, thank you.
So he's got this thing that happens. He's got this fireball that happens on his head.
On his head.
And it burns his head. He doesn't pull away, which, plus or minus. But what I like for the rest of the movie is that he has this starburst pattern on his head of burn, but he also has a burn pattern in his hat, which is accurate because most of the things that we wear are not just fabric, they are they're plastic fabric, and it's burned like it is polyester fabric.
It's melted.
That would be melted into your skin,
okay,
for sure.
And I'll give you that starburst pattern, definitely worth the flame that went over him. But in that, his skin on his scalp, totally untouched.
Oh no, that should have been. That should have been burnt down to the scalp.
That should have been a blistery.
That should have been Pizza Town.
You know what I mean?
haven't figured out so now.
The hat is gone in a beautiful star-shaped pattern.
Can that
but
be the title of the
skull is
podcast?
fine.
Can it be Pizza Town?
It's going to be a tough one.
His head should have been pizza.
That should have been so gross.
Oh man.
Any kind of heat to that, like the skin
and
on the scalp would have been affected.
The thing about scalp skin is real thin. Like if you cut your scalp, you will see your skull real easy. And that was like 10 seconds of blowtorch on his head. He might have like literally because of the tightness of your skin on your scalp. After that much burning, his skull might have just popped out of his head.
And with that, the vasculature right under your scalp is pretty significant. Like seen these guys that get for whatever reason the scalp is kind of shaved off at the top, and they just are bleeding everywhere.
Oh yeah, you can have a very minor injury to your scalp, and it will you will have a lot of blood. As usual, not enough blood.
Again, a thing I know from stage combat, you get nicked in your head where you shouldn't on stage.
Sorry. Johnny, you did stage combat?
No, not well, but my
I'm sorry, what stage combat?
Hold on, stage combat?
My uncle does a lot of stage combat, and you get nicked in your...
Backyard wrestling?
Yeah, pretty much. No, not at all.
I will say this. With scalp injuries, it is actually one of the biggest sources of bleeding in any trauma.
Any trauma.
And you actually have to take out the stapler and actually start stapling their scalp shut to control bleeding.
So is it really heavy blood loss, or does it just look really bad because there's so much blood from like a lot of area?
It actually
I'll be honest, it looks worse than it is, but it looks really, really bad.
Craig's gonna be honest.
Also, if you don't control significant blood loss, it becomes significant.
Yeah. Okay.
I know that sounds...
the case in all
that sounds really...
Exactly.
It's just like...
Well-spoken words there.
So, look, Jackson, you watch a lot of wrestling?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Wait,
you watch a lot of wrestling?
Correct.
Right there.
And that's the thing they do. You can do a slight cut on your scalp and you just have a ton of blood.
You can.
But also, it's not like...
It's a forehead.
It's not meaningful blood loss because you can put pressure on it. Because you can put pressure on it and stop it. It is a minor cut.
I will argue against this only because I've seen so many car accident patients where patients have such significant scalp lacerations to the point where
we're not talking about part of their head flip back.
No. Just like big.
Well,
I would say probably
about the whole head getting blown
4 or 5
off with
centimeter.
blowtorch.
Yeah, but 4 or 5 centimeter.
That's cauterized.
That he does make a point on that.
Courtney, I'm a doctor. I know what I'm talking about.
Can we all just agree that Joe Messi
Joe who?
Joe Messi would be Pesci Mess?
Daniel Pesci.
Well, the thing is, whenever you lose skin, then things go to hell. You know, you lose skin, you got bleeding issues, you got infection issues, things go to hell.
Time out.
And that's why the
infection is very different than bleeding. Like
is it?
Bleeding is an immediate issue, but if you the thing that happens to burn victims isn't blood loss, it's man, you lost the integral portion of blocking bacteria from getting inside of you.
Well, bacteria, but also heat containment too.
So can we go to a quintessential scene that we always see in the trailers for this, and it's when the paint cans hit people on the face.
Okay, I kind of like that part.
Do you think it works?
I think it's reasonable.
I think it worked, except for they'd be dead.
Well,
here's
how full were said paint cans.
Right. There's a lot of unknowns in it, which makes it harder to be like, this is a definite thing that would happen. I will say that based on the fall that they have is not a horrible fall. Like, I mean, they get hit by something and they jump backwards. And
but it's not so much the fall, it's the impact.
It's the coup counter coup.
And again, this is where we move back to a physics podcast.
Which I agree, but the part that disturbs me about this is the fact that Daniel Stern and Joe Pesci are very different heights.
Do you have to say it like that?
Yeah, absolutely.
They are bumbling thieves.
Is that from something?
A couple of my friends listen to this podcast. It's the way that we talk to each other about things.
You know that I'm going to make you record a trailer for this specific episode telling the story of Home Alone in that voice, right?
In that voice.
Two bumbling thieves try to break into a house.
This is not a medical podcast.
We're called the Wet Bandits. We do things.
We can only be friends moving forward if you continue to speak in that voice.
I'm sorry, you haven't been snowboarding with me. That's the only voice that we speak in. The part that I don't like about it is the fact that Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern are such different heights, which means that Kevin McAllister would have had to set up two different paint cans and been ready to swing them down.
Unless they were on different steps.
Well, but 6 inches honestly doesn't make a whole lot of difference, even with different depending on which step you're on, depending on where they're falling. Like I really feel like it could have covered his goals, as we'll put it.
I'm just saying that those 6 inches make a huge difference when it comes to force and physics. That's the best I can do.
Talk about physics
That's
now?
the best I can do. If we're going to talk about the damage done from a swinging paint can, 6 inches makes a big difference. And it also matters where you get hit. And the only real thing that we know is conservation of energy, how they hit the ground after they're hit. And neither one of those looks horrible.
And one could argue that after the first one gets hit, the second one should be reasonably less as well. Seeing it coming.
I mean, I imagine that if you were at the top of the stairs and you were throwing a paint can down.
Which is what Kevin was doing.
No, he was just dropping it.
He was pushing it away from the robbers and then having gravity bring it back and swing it back towards them.
So, even less force?
Less force.
Well, coup and counter coup.
And then the next injury.
Things have been getting real rough.
Things are going right off the rails, and I love it. Kevin McAllister puts a tarantula on Pesci's chest.
God, I want a spider.
And the way that the spider is dealt with, I guess.
So part of what we sort of glossed over is in the last few months, there's been a lot of kind of groups that have inputted their analysis onto Home Alone, and they're great. Between Corridor Crew and what's the other one?
Vsauce.
They are amazing, and you should totally check them out. From a medical standpoint, I think the paint cans are less of a big deal than people want to make a right. It's just like, oh, you got hit in the face with something.
A projectile.
Like that sucks, but also I don't think that would really do something. However, being hit with a crowbar with a full swing by a grown man while you're laying on the ground in your sternum, that might kill you. That might straight up just kill you.
Is this the first 100% critical hit you're dead in the movie? Or does the iron get
Iron's pretty close.
Well, the iron would the head on the stairs is close.
But that one might not kill. That could kill you. That's gonna do some damage. It might not kill you. The iron is gonna make you different forever.
We do know this family has tons of money and can afford a good iron. Because I caught for the first time that Dad has a Burberry coat.
Tons of money is a poor prognostic factor. Let's be honest.
Well, I think tons of money means your iron is heavier than most.
Yeah.
You don't just have a BS iron.
It's that sweet money iron.
It's that good money iron right there.
Becky with the good iron.
Yes, Becky with the good. Oh God, it's gonna go.
Oh Lord.
But the crowbar to the chest, which we assume is going to be a good crowbar.
I mean, it's not going to bend.
It's going to be a dense crowbar.
It's not just a crowbar to the chest.
This is Marv and Harry's eye.
It's like I'm wheeling back. I'm looking at my friend lying on the floor, on his back, and I'm going to use all of my force to come down on him.
That's the thing. It's not like
it's
it's not a BS swing. It is like a grown man looking at a thing on your chest and like, well, I got this crowbar. I'm going to swing it as hard as possible.
Would you say it's two bumbling thieves?
Two bumbling thieves trying to swing a crowbar as hard as they can.
Well, and
put you out of your misery.
I wouldn't want a tarantula walking around on me, so I'd actually maybe prefer that someone smacks me across the face.
No,
like
you
that.
don't want that. For sure, you don't. You know what you'd want? You'd want a gentle brush. Hey, tarantula, who's not bothering you at all.
Tarantula.
Let me just
Walk onto my hands. Let me relocate you.
Because that is
because
what he did is a straight up death blow.
Oh yeah,
we can all agree on that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Who's the guy that's in Death Blow? I wish I knew it.
I'm sorry. There's a movie named Death Blow.
Oh, it's so good.
I don't know this movie.
No, and I think I need to.
We'll find that out soon.
Oh, not a Death Blow podcast.
Or a physics podcast.
I am willing to start a Death Blow podcast because that movie is amazing.
Right here, right now. Let's do it.
It's mainly about brushing off tarantulas. I don't want the death blow.
The death blow with the crowbar. I mean, let's be honest. Where is that coming from?
I think that's the first true kill shot. There's a lot of things that are real upsetting. There's a lot of things that would cause a lot of damage. There's a lot of things that would be real painful.
But we have
the way he swings that crowbar and hits him in the chest. I mean, if he hit him in the face, I could be like, oh, that killed him. Yeah. But he hits him in the chest, so maybe not. But he could have broken his sternum. He could have broken his ribs.
But the sternum's a strong too.
There's truth to this because that is how Joe Pesci died.
Wait, Joe Pesci's
Joe Pesci's...
Why would you do that?
I'm sorry, what?
Joe Pesci's not dead.
Side note.
Not?
Death Blow is a movie about a group of rape victims
there's
forced
a
to
movie
go
called
beyond
Death
the
Blow?
law to ensure their protection, starring Frank Stallone and Jerry Van Dyke.
Yeah, I've seen Death Blow.
Yeah.
I have not seen Death Blow.
That is Death Blow.
Frank Stallone is my third favorite Stallone.
You have a third favorite Stallone?
Whoever, there's...
If you got a first favorite, you gotta have a third.
That's fair.
There's only 2 more scenes we gotta survive through, you guys.
Wait, there's more?
Well, we don't have to because they already did not survive.
Everybody's dead, right?
They're dead.
That's
but, assuming that they did survive...
I think I stopped taking notes at Iron of Face.
I'm going to be really
That was 3 minutes into the 8-minute
Hour
good stuff.
17.
Yeah. There was the scene where
they're climbing across the rope.
Yeah, they're climbing across the rope. And he puts a bandage around his hand. His burnt hand, and then tries to crawl across.
Which I would do, in all honesty.
But would that really stop the pain, honestly?
Well, but, I mean, moving on to, the more significant issue here is climbing out onto a rope where there's a child on the other end with weed cutters.
They don't know about the weed cutters.
They don't know about the weed cutters.
Doesn't matter. Would you climb out to anything that's relatively
I'm going to go with Johnny's
tenuous?
I'm going to go with Johnny's explanation. They were concussed.
Okay, so
I will say they're not in their right mind. They did get hit by those paint cans. They did both hit their heads on those stairs.
He got hit with a crowbar in the sternum.
I'm sorry. At this point, I say I'm done.
Okay.
That's because you're reasonable and you didn't take a death blow.
Now, so let's say they are concussed and that's the only reason they climb out on that rope. Would they have the coordination to go hand over hand?
Oh, absolutely.
I think you would have the coordination to do that. I think you probably don't realize the amount of upper body strength it would take to get all the way over there. Also...
Oh, I do, and I can't do it.
It doesn't matter that much. He's only 1 story up. You can just run downstairs
and surround the tree.
It's not a big deal.
It would not be the end of the world. But going after a child and grabbing onto a rope, and I'm sorry, the rope's not going to stay there.
So this is the first bad decision that we think they've made so far, right?
I don't know about the first.
No.
I think the first bad decision was insisting to get in the house after so much resistance. They have an entire suburban block of rich people's houses where no one is home. They know how much they are not home so well that he is pointing out when the timed lighting is going to go on. If you know that well how much people are going to be gone, you have there's no reason to fudge with Kevin.
But do the other houses have a 3-story laundry chute?
No, and also laundry shirts don't have any money in them.
Laundry shirts?
I hate you.
Some laundry shirts.
Laundry shirts definitely.
My laundry shirt
I do the laundry.
Has 3-store.
I wish I had a laundry
3 stories of money in them.
So what happens as they're climbing out, though, is Kevin cuts the rope because if you haven't figured this out by now, Kevin is a sociopath.
No, Kevin is smart.
Can I just...
And...
I would cut the rope.
We have a farm in Wisconsin. We have a zip line. And my cousin Jessica, who listens to this, the first time she took the zip line, she zip lined all the way into the tree. She didn't let it go. It was...
Who lets it go? I mean, you got something
because
working that you're like, I'm going to continue on.
When a solid object is coming up to your face, you don't slide into it.
Sometimes fear takes over, and you're like, this is working. I'm going to continue on.
Yeah, well,
are you saying that
so
there's a situation?
That's why we weren't able to use the zip line for a while.
So we know then what happens when someone is in that situation. They smack into
No. But this was the action, like what Kevin did when he got on his little bicycle thing and slid down. You're supposed to slide forward, but you're supposed to let go. You're supposed to have a way to get up.
Oh, I was thinking more about the wet bandits when they swung into the wall.
Right, and to me, the worst part about the wet bandits would have been if Kevin let them get a little further and cut it and let them just fall to the ground, which would have hurt their ankles, knees.
Oh, but that doesn't have the cinematic.
Right, it does. It's not
excitement of cutting it halfway through and letting them swing back and slam against the wall. Doesn't that have like a Lion King kind of image to it?
What Lion King version did you watch?
I know you can't see us all right now, but all three of us are just staring at Courtney
at me like I'm
real
crazy.
awkwardly right now.
You remember that version of the Lion King?
Remember when Pumbaa and Timon sung that song about halfway between the treehouse and the house?
You're done. You're gonna die.
My favorite part about Lion King was when Pumbaa and Timon were trying to steal from Simba.
My favorite part is the music.
Anyways,
one warthog and one meerkat.
Oh my god!
2 bumbling meerkats.
Oh my god! This is so
Johnny.
We are falling apart, Johnny. I apologize.
Okay. Last thing I want to talk about is, can you hang a child by sweater?
Okay, so asking about hanging a child up on the hook from his sweater, I was the one who said, that doesn't really seem right. So when the burglars found Kevin, they grabbed him and they tried to hook him up onto... It was almost like a robe.
Yeah, it
was
a full-on coat hook.
It's a coat hook.
In the bathroom, it's a coat hook that you just hang anything on, and they hooked the child onto it, the back of his sweater. But the thing was, it didn't really seem to apply any kind of pressure to the rest of his body.
No.
Like, he was hooked on the back of his
almost like he was standing on
shirt, and it was just like he was standing there. Yeah, no kind of pressure on the anterior side of the neck, any kind of issue there.
Interior means front.
Thank you.
But yeah, he should have been choking and coughing.
I think that's what Courtney is saying, is if you're going to hang someone up by the clothes that they're wearing, there's going to be
discomfort.
Equal and opposite reaction, which is your clothes digging into your...
Would you say a coup contre coup?
Oh, it's just Kevin looks very comfortable hanging there, where at the very least his clothing would be kind of pulled into his body, and he would be choking and uncomfortable.
He would not be able to speak to his captors, and
yeah, he should not be comfortable at all. He would have looked really bad. But yeah, surprising how much we've talked about 20 minutes of an entire movie.
I think it was 6 minutes.
It's not 20 minutes. It's literally
it's
about
like
11 minutes.
6 minutes.
Wow.
11?
Yeah.
Man, I did not remember this movie the same way we just watched it.
No, you remember the slapstick and not the heartwarming stuff.
This meerkat and this warthog.
2 bumbling thieves.
It's all about lying.
1 meerkat and 1 warthog.
Good movie.
But yeah, I mean, still,
realize.
does not detract from how great this movie is. It's just, if you were watching this movie for Kevin McAllister doing shenanigans to just 2 bumbling thieves.
Just catch the clips on YouTube.
Correct.
I'm curious, like, I think that for me, this was my movie, this was a great Christmas movie when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Definitely Home Alone 2 was part of that, but Home Alone 2 was never something I really watched.
No.
How much...
Home Alone 2, Return of Jafar.
Yeah. Lion King 2, Lost in New York.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how much time in Home Alone 2 do you think is dedicated to this?
I'm
not sure.
I'm gonna guess significantly more.
I bet it's more than half the movie.
I'm sure, and we'll probably have to watch it to see if Home Alone 2, Home Aloner.
I'm gonna go on.
Home Aloner.
I'm gonna go on record that I'm not gonna watch it. And
I will.
Home Alone with a Vengeance.
Live Free or Home Alone.
I just said that one.
I'm happy with all of these.
Home Alone 2, Lost in the Habit.
Back
in the Habit.
Back in the Habit.
Back in the Habit, yes.
Home Alone 2, The Squeakquel.
Home Alone 2, The Bus That Couldn't Slow Down.
Sign me up for all of these. That's a fantastic movie, by the way.
Speed 2?
Yes, 100%.
The Bus That Couldn't Slow Down.
Any kind
Speed 2
of movie...
was cruise control, thank you.
Any kind of movie franchise that you jump a bus over any obstacle in front of you, that's Speed 2, too.
No, that was in a cruise ship.
Courtney, you've been kicked
Speaking
out
of movies with sequels,
No.
I have an important question.
You mean Home Alone 2 full sequence?
Yeah.
The sequence in the
I'm
podcast.
uncomfortable. The Human Centipede
No, done.
bills itself as 100% medically accurate.
Something popped up on my human centipede. Too.
Your Human Centipede?
Excuse me?
I'm sorry, who now?
Hold on, I'll pull up my phone. You guys keep talking.
Okay,
That stays in.
The Human Centipede bills itself as 100% medically accurate. If that's true, how medically accurate are the last 20 minutes of Home Alone 1 Lost in My House?
I will
75.
I will say that the first 110 minutes of it is 100% accurate because my dad is in it. And he exists. So I'll give you that.
I like that Greg's continuing with this. An hour is 100 minutes.
Well, but everything based on his family, too.
If you didn't meet my dad when he was visiting.
No, I did not.
That's my dad. It's weird. It's a thing that people have been saying for a long time. Which I love my dad. He's a great guy. I'm glad you're in the movie.
I'm glad he's a listener to the
But
podcast.
for the last, what?
20-something minutes?
11 and a half minutes or so.
Those 11 minutes where stuff actually happens.
I'm going to say that it is about... I'm going to say it's about 60%. There's horrible things that happen. You know, they're not showing... You know what? I'm going to go 40%.
I'm going to $1 you and call
65.
41.
You're going to go 41.
Courtney, you've got a much higher bid.
I'm going to go 65. I feel like there are very reasonable situations and, coup and counter coup.
I think people have really bad injuries, but I think all of us have seen people have those injuries and been okay. Like, oddly okay.
No.
But there were... How many notes do I have here? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Counting
10.
with Johnny.
Yeah. 10, 11, 12.
How many notes do you have?
Many.
1, 2, 3,
I've got
4,
many
5,
injuries.
6, 7,
Right, but
8, 9,
it's
10,
those are
11,
like
12.
there's definitely things that happen. They don't show the full on consequences of things, but people hit their head. Sometimes people hit their head and they are gone forever. Sometimes people hit their head and they're fine, and it's very weird. The things that happen in this movie are extreme, and you definitely don't want them to happen to you. But there isn't aside from that sternum breaking swing, there isn't anything to me that says, "Oh, that 100% would have killed."
So if there'd been 20
Falling
thieves
on the
instead
head?
of 2.
Oh no! Joe Pesci landing on his neck on the concrete stair.
That's a no-no.
He's not getting up quickly. I mean, maybe, but not quickly.
Yeah. I still stand by my 41%.
I think 40. I'm
I'm
okay
still
with
going
40.
to stick with 65.
I'm okay with 40.
I think Kevin did a great job.
I think he definitely defended his house. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Like a sociopath.
It's my house. I have to defend it.
Yeah.
Did I do it right?
Yeah,
Should
pretty close. It's my house.
do I need to emote more?
Yes.
Yeah.
We gotta talk about 2 bumbling thieves.
I got these 2 bumbling thieves. It's my house.
All right, folks.
Is there any way we could make this movie more realistic?
I don't think so.
No.
Well, you
Like
don't
more,
really...
keep the stakes high, make it more medically accurate, add 40 more thieves.
No,
You don't want this movie to be more medically realistic.
I have one thing that would make it more realistic. When that guy steps on those ornaments...
A little gentler.
No. That guy would be crying on the ground for 20... Like, we've all stepped on something that is kind of sharp, and it is the worst thing ever. I've stubbed my toe. It's the worst thing ever. That guy kind of does everything, and all he does is continue to stomp harder on glass.
Well, and after stepping on a nail, you don't stamp your feet as you're stepping through a window. You gently put your feet on the ground.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
You don't.
After that guy had already had some foot trauma, there's no way he would have stepped down as hard as he did.
Yeah.
Team of 20 thieves.
Daniel Stern.
Breaking in one after
20
another.
bumbling thieves.
I mean, from a video game perspective, I think it's very accurate. From a human perspective, after they both had head injuries on the stairs from ice, just like, isn't there a better house? There's gotta be a better house.
I'm sorry, when did we start looking at this from a video game perspective?
I can't wait till we
start
doing
there's 20
video
thieves
games.
coming through the window. I mean...
Okay.
But yeah. So yeah, fun movie.
Yes.
Merry
2 weeks after Christmas, guys.
Oh, yeah, it is going to be... No, it's going to be a week after Christmas.
It depends on... Do you know how long it's going to take me to edit this?
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a while.
We might have gone a little off the rails.
Happy New Year, I guess.
Is this longer than the movie?
It's definitely longer than... no, it is not longer than the film.
If we started playing the podcast while the movie started, would we be at the part where the thieves were breaking into the house yet?
Close.
Without any editing...
1 hour and 17 minutes.
Without any editing...
Yes.
That would happen right about...
Now? Is it now?
Now.
Yeah.
For real. So thanks, folks, for listening. We had a lot of fun. If you have any questions, give us a call at 1-530-DOCTORB. The B is for, boy, this is going to take me forever to edit. And hit us up on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at HiEverybodyMD or HiEverybodyMD.com.
Tell your friends. Thanks.
Yep. Bye-bye.